Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. We've got a crazy mix of stories for you today.
Oh, yeah, we've got a little bit of everything today.
Yeah, a little bit of everything. Everything that's been making headlines in the past few days. So we've got celebrity trials, scientific discoveries, political twists and turns,
Right. In a giant stinky flower.
a giant stinky flower.
It's quite a mix, but as we go, I think you'll see there are some really interesting connections between all of these seemingly random stories.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's like one of those 6 degrees of separation things.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You start in one place, and suddenly you're finding connections everywhere.
You sure do.
So you're ready to dive in.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. Let's start with that smelly flower. Because, honestly, who can resist a giant, stinky flower?
Right.
This is Patricia the corpse flower, blooming right now in Sydney, Australia.
Yeah.
And this is not your average daisy. We're talking over 5 feet tall. And get this, it only blooms every 7 to 10 years.
Wow.
And the smell has been compared to like rotting garbage and dirty gym socks.
I mean, that sounds pretty awful to us.
Yeah.
But that smell is actually how Patricia survives. It attracts pollinators like carrion beetles who are into that kind of, well, fragrance.
And speaking of being attracted to something, over 20,000 people have lined up to see Patricia,
Really?
to smell Patricia,
Wow.
to experience this very unique and stinky plant. It's incredible. And there's a whole online fandom who call themselves Patricians with memes and everything.
That's amazing. You know, it says a lot about us humans, doesn't it? We're just drawn to the unusual, even if it's a little unpleasant.
Yeah, or a lot unpleasant.
That's right.
Okay, let's switch gears completely now and head over to Los Angeles, where the rapper AAP Rocky's assault trial is going on. He's facing some serious charges.
Yeah, 2 felony counts of assault with a semi-automatic firearm.
And he could be facing up to 24 years in prison.
Yeah, he turned down a plea deal for a possible 180 days. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. The defense is claiming that he was only carrying a starter pistol as like a prop and he didn't actually shoot anybody.
And of course, you can't talk about this case without talking about the fact that AP Rocky is a huge celebrity.
Right.
And so is his partner, Rihanna.
Right.
And apparently the judge had a really hard time finding impartial jurors
Really?
because of how famous they both are.
I can imagine.
It makes you wonder how you even have a fair trial when the defendant is so famous.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Okay, and speaking of high-profile trials, let's talk about Amanda Knox. She's back in an Italian court, but this time for slander.
Oh, wow. This case just keeps going. It really shows you how even if you're exonerated, a crime can follow you forever.
Yeah, she was originally convicted of murdering her roommate back in 2007.
Right.
But she was exonerated after years of appeals. And now she's been convicted of slander for falsely accusing a bar owner during her interrogation.
Yeah, it's just a really complicated situation.
It is. And Knox is asking for a full exoneration while the bar owner wants the slander conviction to be upheld.
So it brings up a lot of questions about international justice systems
Right.
and how accusations can have a lasting impact even when the legal process is over.
Okay, let's take a break from all the serious stuff for a minute and talk about something a little lighter.
Okay, I like where this is going.
Cameron Diaz is back. She's starring in a new Netflix movie with Jamie Foxx called Back in Action after taking a break from acting for 8 years.
That's great. I always liked her. You know, the movie itself is interesting, too. The whole premise plays on this nostalgia trend that's everywhere now.
Yeah.
You know, former secret agents coming out of retirement. It's stuff audiences really love.
Yeah, it's like comfort food.
Exactly.
And Diaz's comeback has even led to a resurgence in popularity for one of her older films.
Oh, really? Which one?
That action comedy she did with Tom Cruise back in 2010.
Oh, Night and Day.
Yeah, Night and Day.
I remember that one. I like that one.
People are rediscovering it, which is kind of cool.
That is cool.
It's a good reminder that sometimes going back in action can be just what we need.
I love that.
Okay, so speaking of going back, there's a growing movement to ban cell phones in schools.
Oh, yeah, that's been in the news a lot lately.
It has. And there's bipartisan support for it. You've got governors from both sides of the aisle, like Sarah Huckabee Sanders and Gavin Newsom. They're all pushing for these bans.
It's interesting. The concerns are really understandable, you know? Distractions in the classroom, the impact on mental health, even safety risks during emergencies. But it's not so simple, is it?
It's not.
Yeah.
There are definitely other viewpoints, too. Like, a lot of parents want their kids to have their phones in case of an emergency.
Right.
And students use them to coordinate things like rides and after-school activities.
Right.
It's a tough one. It's all about finding that balance between access to technology and using it responsibly.
It is.
What do you think? Is a total ban?
I don't know if there's one right answer that works everywhere. It's definitely a conversation we need to keep having as technology keeps evolving and changing the way we live and learn.
All right, some breaking news just came in. The White House has announced that they're declassifying all of the records related to the assassinations of JFK, RFK, and MLK.
Wow, this is huge.
It is. People have been wanting these records to be made public for decades.
Yeah, and for good reason. These were pivotal events that changed the course of history.
Exactly. And who knows what we might find in those records. Maybe we'll get some answers to some of the biggest mysteries surrounding these assassinations,
Or it'll just raise even more questions. It's bound to fuel a lot of debate and discussion.
especially with all the conspiracy theories that still surround these events.
Exactly. And you know what? That's what makes history so fascinating.
Yeah, you never know what you're going to find.
It's always evolving.
Okay, we've gone from a stinky flower to some of the biggest events in American history, and now we're going to talk about something that kind of connects them both.
Really? How so?
Artificial intelligence. Specifically, a Chinese-developed large language model called DeepSeek R1.
This is the one that rivals ChatGPT, right?
Yes. And what's really interesting about it is that it's not only super powerful, but it's also really affordable. And it's open weight.
Open weight, what does that mean?
I was hoping you could explain that part.
Okay, so open weight basically means that researchers can see how the AI model works.
Okay.
So a lot of AI models are basically black boxes. We can see what they do, but we don't really know how they work.
Right.
But open weight models are more transparent, so researchers can see the algorithms and the data that the model uses.
So it's not just about what these AI models can do, it's about understanding how they do it.
Right. And that's really important as AI gets more powerful and starts playing a bigger role in our lives.
Okay, let's blast off into space now. NASA is working on a new nuclear electric propulsion system.
Wait, really?
Yeah, it's called ARMAR-VL, and it could shorten travel time to Mars from 7 to 9 months down to just 45 days.
That's incredible, but how is that even possible?
Yeah. Well, the system's heat dissipation component is massive. It's the size of a football field.
Wow.
So it would have to be assembled in space
In space.
by robots.
Robots building things in space. This is like science fiction.
I know, but it's not science fiction anymore. Advancements in robotics and modular spacecraft design are making this kind of stuff possible.
So it's like launching a giant Lego set into space and then having robots put it all together.
Exactly. And it could revolutionize space exploration.
It really could.
But while we're celebrating the wonders of technology, we also need to talk about the potential downsides, like Ghost GPT, which is this new uncensored AI chatbot.
I've heard of this, one that's being marketed to cybercriminals, right?
Yep, it can create malware, phishing scams, you name it.
That's terrifying. It's like something out of a movie.
I know.
Yeah.
And it raises a lot of questions about ethical AI development.
It does. What are the limits? How do we make sure this kind of technology doesn't end up in the wrong hands? These are things we really need to be thinking about.
For sure. Okay, let's switch gears one more time and talk about wearable tech.
Okay.
Rumor has it that Meta is going to release high-end smart glasses with a built-in display in 2025.
Wow. That's a big step up from their current glasses.
It is. It's a step toward all-day AR glasses.
What about the price?
It's rumored to be around $1,000.
$1,000. Wow. So they're really targeting the high-end market.
It seems like it.
And what about the competition? What are other companies like Samsung doing?
Well, Samsung's also investing heavily in AR and smart glasses, so it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out.
It will.
Okay, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, let's talk about something that affects all of us, our health.
Okay.
Specifically, weight loss drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy.
These are the ones that have gotten really popular lately, right?
They have their GLP-1RA medications, which work by mimicking hormones that regulate appetite and digestion.
And they've been shown to be pretty effective for weight loss.
They have, but there are also some potential risks that we need to talk about.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like what?
Well, some recent studies have linked them to some pretty serious side effects like pancreatitis, kidney problems, and gastrointestinal issues.
That's scary.
It is. So it's really important to weigh the benefits against the risks and to talk to your doctor to see if these medications are right for you.
You know, it's a good reminder that there are rarely any quick fixes when it comes to health.
Absolutely.
The best approach is always to talk to your doctor and focus on sustainable lifestyle changes.
Absolutely. Okay, that's a wrap for part 1 of our deep dive. We'll be back soon with part 2, where we'll cover even more fascinating stories from the news. Welcome back to the deep dive. We left off talking about weight loss, but now let's shift gears a bit to a new study about ADHD.
Okay.
This study found that people with ADHD might actually have shorter lifespans than those without the disorder.
Oh, wow. That's concerning. What did the study say about why that is?
Well, they looked at data from over 30,000 people, and it seemed like there were a few factors at play, like mental health challenges,
Mm.
things like anxiety, depression, and even an increased risk of suicide. And then there were also higher rates of things like smoking and alcohol use, as well as physical health problems like diabetes and high cholesterol.
So it's not just one thing, it's a whole combination of factors.
Exactly. It really highlights how important it is to address all aspects of ADHD, both mental and physical.
Absolutely. Early diagnosis and treatment are so crucial, and so is ongoing support.
Okay, are you ready for a little bit of a lighter story now?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Bring it on.
Okay, so this one comes from the world of animal behavior, and it's a little bit strange. Researchers have discovered that urination is slightly contagious among chimpanzees.
Wait, what? Contagious peeing?
I know, right? Apparently, these scientists spent over 600 hours watching chimps pee.
Wow, they really dedicated themselves to this research.
They did. And what they found was that chimps were more likely to pee if another chimp near them had just peed.
That's hilarious. I wonder why they do that.
Well, researchers think it could be a way of promoting group cohesion, or maybe even a way to confuse predators by masking their scent.
That's really interesting. It just goes to show that there's always something new to learn about the animal kingdom.
There really is.
Oh,
Okay, let's get back to the world of tech. Samsung just had their big Unpacked event, and they unveiled the new Galaxy S25 series.
I heard about this, and I heard there was a surprise announcement, too.
There was. They revealed the Galaxy S25 Edge, which is this super thin new smartphone.
Oh, wow. So they're really going all in on this trend of foldable and flexible devices.
It seems like they're trying to push the boundaries of what a smartphone can be.
Which is pretty cool. It's exciting to see what they come up with next.
Speaking of pushing boundaries, let's talk about something a little more down to earth. Grocery prices.
Okay.
With inflation being what it is, everyone's looking for ways to save money on groceries, right?
Absolutely.
Well, there's actually a list of the cheapest grocery stores in America.
Oh, really? Like who?
Well, there's some familiar names on there, like Aldi, Lidl, Trader Joe's.
Okay, yeah, those make sense. What about Winco Foods? Is that on there?
It is. They've all got their own strategies for keeping prices low, like focusing on private label brands and keeping their operations streamlined.
That's good to know. It's proof that you can eat well without breaking the bank.
Exactly. Okay, let's talk politics for a minute. It looks like we're going back in time a bit because Donald Trump has pulled the U.S. out of the Paris Agreement again.
This is bringing back some memories. Some people are saying this is a huge blow to the fight against climate change.
Yeah, there are definitely concerns about that. But there are also some people who are saying that Trump's withdrawal might actually be a good thing.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, the argument is that without Trump there to potentially disrupt things, other countries might be able to make more progress on climate action.
That's an interesting perspective. It's definitely a complicated issue with a lot of different viewpoints.
It is. Okay, let's debunk a myth now.
Okay, I love a good myth-busting session. What's the myth?
That sparkling water is a magic weight loss drink.
Ah, yes, I've heard that one before.
Well, it turns out that's not really true. A new study found that while sparkling water might make you feel a little fuller, it doesn't really have a significant impact on weight loss.
It's a good reminder that there's no substitute for a healthy diet and regular exercise.
Exactly. Okay, and last but not least, let's talk about a major breakthrough in the world of AI. OpenAI has released a research preview of Operator, which is an AI agent that can control your web browser.
I read about this. It's like having a personal assistant that lives in your computer.
Yeah, it can do things like book flights, make reservations, and even order groceries online.
That's incredible. It sounds like it could really change the way we interact with technology.
It could,
Huh.
but there are also some concerns about security and privacy since you're basically giving this AI agent access to your personal information.
Right. I can see why people would be worried about that. Hopefully, OpenAI has put some safeguards in place to prevent misuse.
They've limited what Operator can access, and they require user confirmation for certain actions, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on as this technology develops.
It is. It's both exciting and a little bit scary to think about what the future holds for AI.
I agree. Okay, that's it for this part of the deep dive. We'll be back soon with the final part where we'll wrap everything up. All right, we're back for the final part of our deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground, but before we go, we've got one more story, and this is a cautionary tale about staying vigilant online. Even in this digital age, we got to be careful.
It's true. It's so easy to let your guard down, especially when you're using platforms you trust.
Exactly.
Huh?
And that's what these scammers are banking on.
Oh, yeah.
They're using Venmo to impersonate JetBlue, and they're targeting travelers.
Wow, that's sneaky. How does that even work?
Well, they create these fake Venmo accounts that look totally legit, and they send requests for things like flights and other travel expenses, and people just assume it's the real deal.
And they get scammed.
It's so easy to fall for it, especially when you're in a hurry or distracted.
It is. So what can people do to protect themselves?
Well, first of all, always double-check those account details. Look for that verified badge, and if anything seems off, just don't send the money.
Right.
And if you're ever unsure, it's always best to contact the company directly through their official website or phone number.
Good advice. It's always better to be safe than sorry.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, it's incredible how all these stories, as different as they seem, reveal these bigger trends that are shaping our world.
Yeah.
The power of technology, the importance of being responsible, and that human desire to explore the unusual, the unexpected, even the stinky sometimes. What stood out to you the most?
It's funny you should mention that stinky flower because it got me thinking, if something as simple as a plant can capture the world's attention just with its smell, imagine what AI could do. Imagine how it could captivate us, for good or for bad, in ways we can't even imagine yet. That's something I'll definitely be thinking about.
That's a great point. And it's something for all of us to consider as we move forward in this rapidly changing world. So that's it for this deep dive. We'll be back soon with more fascinating stories and insightful conversations. Until then, stay curious and stay informed.